Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Not all meals are created equal. For instance, breakfast has the spicy egg McMuffin for a limited time, and lunch doesn't. McDonald's breakfast comes first. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hello and welcome to The Price of Football, the show that looks at the money behind the beautiful game with me, Kevin Day, and Liverpool University's Kieran Maguire. Kieran, there was something missing. This is one of our pre-recorded holiday pods, so we've gone straight in to this pod from the last one, so I didn't get a countdown.
I'm sorry, it's become part of your life now, hasn't it?
I keep saying to Ali, she's very busy at the moment because she's going to Edinburgh very short. I keep saying, can you just come and see the start of the pod recording just to see how funny? And she goes, yeah, I'm sure he's hilarious, darling. Yeah, but I'm currently very busy transporting expensive bits.
Being an adult.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, producer guy, as again helpfully put July the 31st in as big a bigger font as possible, so I know.
Unless you're a club member, God knows when they're going to go, no, we're going into Doctor Who territory here.
No, that's getting really complicated, isn't it? Because they could get them all the same. But then that would they won't know where they are if they binge listen to all. Right. Oh dear, it is complicated, isn't it? It's another question. I can't wait for the summer to be over. Of course I can't. I hate summer, but it's always nice to get back into a normal pod routine. We've done what happens if Man City decision happens already. So we might as well just go straight into them, Kieran. Basically, they're going to be short pods. Let's not worry about the odd minute here and there. Gareth Beanie has our first question. Gareth Beanie's question is this: can you break down what playing in Europe? This is really, producer guy. You put this one in now, really? Can you break?
To be fair, it doesn't mention England.
Oh yeah, fair point. Yeah, Gareth Beanie says, "Can you break down what playing in Europe means financially for clubs in nations like Wales and Northern Ireland in terms of prize money, gate receipts, and sponsorship?" That presupposes that those clubs are not part of a multi-club organisation and aren't getting kicked out of the fucking competition in the first place.
Like Drogheda,
which is shameful, frankly. But yeah, I'm presuming, Kieran. I mean, it's actually. I mean, the qualifying rounds for all the competitions have already started. I mean, are the teams that are taking part and getting knocked out of these qualifying competitions or ties around? Are they getting money? Is this a massive windfall for smaller teams?
It is. If you are in the Welsh League, the Northern Irish League, even Scottish football, the Republic of Ireland, Luxembourg. If we focus on the smallest of the competitions, we focus on the UEFA Conference. Even if you get into the preliminary round of the Europa Conference, and there's about four matches you'd probably have to win just to get into the Swiss model. I think you pick up something like €150,000 as a loser there. You think about the prize money available for the Carabao Cup. If you win the Carabao Cup, you get £200,000. So there's not that much difference. But broadly, and this would apply to any club, you get around about €3 million if you are one of the 32 participants in the Europa Conference. So for a Premier League club, it's the difference between finishing 14th and 15th. But for a club in the Welsh League, that's going to probably treble your annual incomes. So we saw TNS get there last year and the progress they made. If you win a match, an individual match, it's worth €400,000. If you draw a match, it's worth €133,000. So for clubs from the smaller leagues that don't have broadcast deals, that are often taking place in crowds of, measured in hundreds rather than thousands, it is absolutely transformative. If you make progress as far as the Europa League was concerned, I think when Fiorentina won it, they made around about €17 million in total. So it's a sizable amount, but they won't have made a profit on that, because by the time they paid players' bonuses, travel costs, and so on, it would have been negated. But it's still a substantial amount. So yes, I think there's a bit of sniffiness towards the Europa Conference, which, in my opinion, is completely misplaced. It gives the opportunity for clubs from smaller leagues, A, to play more matches, B, to go to grounds. Fiorentina, I would love to have gone there as a fan. So if I am from Luxembourg or Azerbaijan or Wales or Northern Ireland, it's still a great day out. And I think the Europa Conference is a really good competition, and that's not a leading comment in any way, shape, or form. It's a competition which I think is now coming into its own. I've become a big fan of the new model. The fact that you're playing 6 opponents as opposed to 3. It used to be 3 home and 3 away. Well, now the chances of getting into a match with some clubs which you've never heard of is increased, and also those fans coming to your ground is amazing. So it is certainly beneficial. And my only reservation, and I've said this before when talking about the FIFA Club World Cup, is that the money can be so significant, it can give you such a financial advantage over the remaining clubs domestically that it can set you up to become a dominant part of the footballing landscape. And I don't think that dynasties are good for football.
Yeah. You'll find no sniffiness about the Europa Conference in this quarter, Kieran, of course, unless we end up in the Europa League, in which case conference, dead to me, don't care. But this is what upsets me, Kieran. You use the word transformative there. So for a club like Drogheda missing out on a transformative experience because UEFA simply can't come to terms with multi-club rules, it's not fair on that club. It's not fair on the Slovakian club, whose name I keep forgetting. I apologise. It's not fair on them either. I'm not going to go down this avenue again, Kieran, we have discussed it at length. The multi-club organised system is here to stay. It's getting bigger. UEFA need to sort out a way to let clubs win the tournaments that entitle them to go into European competitions, to take part in those European competitions. Now, Brian Hill has our next question. Brian Hill sounds like he should have been a winger, didn't he, in the 70s? Yeah. Brian Hill says, this may have been spoken about before in various guises. I don't recall having spoken about it before in any guise, Kieran, but I was wondering what your thoughts would be on mandatory sell-on clauses for lower league clubs. Should sell-ons be mandatory with a minimum of 10%, perhaps?
Well, this is broadly what we discussed with Alex from the Union of European Clubs, in the sense that an acknowledgement that clubs that have been part of the development of a player's career, they tend to be smaller clubs, but the Premier League benefits from being able to offer their young players a pathway by saying, well, you can either play overseas or we've got a 3-year pathway for you to break into the first team, League 2, League 1, Championship. I think about a player such as Ben White. He went, I think it was Newport, Peterborough, Leeds United, and he's ended up at Arsenal. And that was 3 loan arrangements. And yes, those clubs in receipt of the player do benefit from somebody that is deemed to be of Premier League potential at an earlier stage in their career. But yes, giving lower league clubs a helping hand in terms of player development, I think, is really important. The Premier League's elite player performance plan effectively allows what I could describe as predatory clubs to acquire the best talent in the country at a very, very early age. And you and I are both old enough to remember sort of the 90-minute rule, whereby you had to be, if you were an academy player, you had to be within 90 minutes of the host club in order to join their academy. That rule has been scrapped. There are some very good things about the elite player performance plan, but there's some other things which effectively encourages factory farming of children, which I feel quite uncomfortable about. And when I get into arguments about people who are say there's absolutely nothing wrong with the elite player performance plan, I say, well, if that's the case, why did the Premier League threaten to take away solidarity payments unless the clubs in the EFL agreed to EPPP? So yes, Brian, I think that has some merit. My only concern is that if you're desperate for cash, then that bigger club comes back to you and says, look, you've got a 10% sell-on clause. We know you're skint. We'll give you £500,000 now to help you pay this month's wages or the next 3 months' wages, and you waive that fee. Now, that could help that small club to survive. So you shouldn't necessarily take a dog in a manger approach to this. But and I saw that at Brighton when Gareth Barry went from Brighton to Villa, and then Villa came back and they said, we know you're skint, we'll give you a small amount of money, but the sell-on clause goes, and Brighton said, yeah, okay, we'll take it. And then, of course, Gareth Barry was sold for a much higher fee. But that's part of the gamble of football. He could have stayed at Villa for the whole of his career, and they'd have got 10% of diddly squat.
My main memory of the 90-minute rule, Kieran, was hilarious technical arguments when clubs like Liverpool would say, well, Irish kids can be here in 45 minutes on a plane, and clubs in London would go, well, we've got a kid in Torquay, he can be here in an hour on a plane. So it was impractical. It was unenforceable, essentially, wasn't it, basically? Because as always, big clubs will find a way around these things.
Yeah. And also it's not fair on those clubs who are near the sea.
Exactly so, because, very good question. Good point, Kieran, as always. That's why you're here. Brendan Clark has our next question. And be still your beating heart, Kieran, because seriously, this is what you came into the job for. Brendan Clark says, I have a question about amortization. If player X, and I wish we could find out who player X is, Kieran. So we've been talking about player X since week one of this pod.
Oh, we've got a few player X's, haven't we?
If player X is signed for £10 million on a 5-year deal, on the accounts it would be allocated at £2 million per year. If at the end of year 3 the player extends their contract by 2 years, does this have an impact on how the remaining £4 million is allocated in the accounts? As in, is it amended to £1 million per year for the remaining years, or does it stay at £2 million for the initial 2 years, meaning that if the player was sold in the contract extension period, it would be considered a full profit on the books?
Right. This is covered in a book called The Price of Football. I don't know who wrote it.
Yeah.
It's I believe the person who wrote it has been told by the publishing house that you're already 9 months late. So if you think you're going to spend 2 weeks on holiday not recording the Price of Football podcast for the next 2 weeks, think again, Maguire. It was a very stern message I got recently. There have been one or two other things in football been occupying. It doesn't work like that. So what happens is that if you are working out depreciation or amortization, if you extend the useful life of the contract or the useful remaining life of a football player, then you take the existing book value. So at the end of 3 years, as Brendan correctly says, it's £4 million. And you say, right, we've now got 4 years remaining. Having renegotiated the contract, so it'll be 4 million divided by 4. And this is actually quite important when you see the likes of your star player, they sign an extension for the contract and everybody goes, have you seen how much extra money he's being paid? So there's an offset. The player will get normally a big pay rise if that player is in a sort of an early part of their career. That gives the club protection as far as the chances of that player leaving on a Bosman. And there's already, there's all these rumours. He's only got a year left. Is it Gahey? He's got a year left on his contract at Palace.
Yeah. Gahey, yeah.
So is he going to run down the contract? And the club will be anxious to get an extra year added to that contract. And the player goes, well, okay, to do that, I need more money because it's reducing my ability to have a big signing on fee when I move to another club. So yes, amortization decreases, but quite often the wage cost will increase because you're rewarding the player for additional commitment to the club.
If you've shopped online, chances are you've bought from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes it incredibly easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/promo. Go to shopify.com/promo.
This episode is sponsored by Shopify. When we started The Price of Football and things started to take off, it all got a bit overwhelming at times as we were suddenly sorting out recordings, interviews, live shows, and our online store. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify.
Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. With Shopify, you get your own design studio that includes hundreds of ready-to-use templates. You can accelerate your content creation with Shopify's AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. And you can easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify.
Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball, all lowercase. So go to shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball to take your business to the next level today. That's shopify.co.uk/priceoffootball. James Brooks, Kieran, has our next question. It's a great question, Kieran, but it's a question that could only ever be asked on a summer holiday pod, basically. I think producer guy must have been a bit giddy at the times. This is the sort of question he's normally too serious to entertain. But James Brooks says, Bruno, Duffy, Dunk, Bong. Is this the most percussive back four of all time?
Yeah. I think we need to talk to our friends at The Price of Music.
Yeah.
So Steve Lamack and co would be able to answer this one. Very good, James. Very good indeed. The simple answer is I don't know.
Well, the reason I like this question is because back in the early days of TalkSport, in the pioneering days of TalkSport, when it was still run by Kelvin McKenzie, myself and my old buddy Mark Webster, Uber Cockney, were asked to do a phone-in show on TalkSport between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock every evening. Unfortunately, we were asked to do it in June and July. When there was no tournament, there was no football. This was way before. Those were the days when I would have begged Man United to tour Hong Kong, just because we had nothing to talk about. So we ended up. So, for example, one night we asked for calls about whether you'd play Morrissey on the left or the right of a centre back, which back three. Yeah, it was that sort of thing. Because literally it was. In the end, you had to entertain yourself. So, and we got warned on air. Kelvin McKenzie came in on air one evening and said, "You've got to stop using long words. You're bamboozling people." And then,
or confusing.
And then the start of the very next week, and it was in context. I can't remember the context, but we discussed Sol Campbell's views on transubstantiation. We weren't getting any call. Who was going to call? There was nothing to. No one was going to. And so Kelvin McKenzie was waiting for us outside the studio as we left to tell us that was the last show. We would. So question. I mean, I would have this. I mean, Bruno Duffy dunk bong. That would have got us through 3 whole nights. That would have been fantastic. Really fantastic. Thank you to everyone who's joined the Price of Football Club. If you'd like to join the club too, get every episode a day earlier than everyone else, ad-free listening, and invite to our monthly Q&A sessions, bonus episodes and more, then go to our website, priceoffootball.com. If you've got a question you'd like answered on the show, email us at questions@priceoffootball.com. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter, X. You can find us on YouTube. And if you'd like to buy one of our books or a Price of Football t-shirt, you can find all the details on our website, priceoffootball.com. We'll be back. I don't know when we'll be back, Kieran.
We'll be back.
We will be back.
Yeah.
I can see we've got 2 more episodes to record. One says August the 5th episode underlined, so we will be back. But I'm not asking for the customary farewell. I'm just to say goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
The Price of Football. The Price of Football.